Apple Chevrolet GMC Studios in the heart of Lincoln, America.
Yeah, I'll come for a couple.
Here are your hosts, Nick Sainert.
I want to know what it's like to commit a crime without having to spend time in jail.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
C is for chunk.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. This is the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary are with you today. Hello, Rico.
Sad Hiller.
How are you doing, man?
I'm sad, man. I'm sad.
We'll talk about it. As always, 402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Starter Heyman text line, both those open for you all hour long, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Get your comment in there. We'll incorporate your input into the show that way. In addition to Twitter, Nick_Sainer and at Radio Rico AC. All right. So obviously big news of the day. Adrian Martinez is in the portal. Rico, I guess not necessarily probably a shock.
No,
because we've talked about it. We kind of expected that this was going to come eventually. I was honestly surprised that we didn't hear about it earlier. Didn't hear the decision earlier. But I guess it's Thursday after it's less than a week from the last game. So
yeah,
not terribly surprised, I guess. But I mean, Adrian, one of Nebraska's best quarterbacks statistically, not in terms of winning games, not record wise, statistically is moving on. And I truly think that there is going to be a big market for him. I guess let's hear your thoughts on what your initial thought was when he entered the portal.
Well, when I first heard the news, I thought it was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went on Twitter. I found out. I saw his statement. Sad, but relieved for him. Not really relieved for the program, although I do believe that this is best for both the program and for Adrian Martinez going forward, that a split was needed. But I'm sad because I really think that he's a very talented quarterback, and he's a great guy to lead Nebraska and to be the face of Husker football. But with the struggles that him and Scott Frost have shared together since they both arrived at Nebraska, I think it's for the better that they break up right now.
402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, Starter Heyman text line. Feel free to send in your thoughts there. We'll get to them all today on I'm curious on how you guys are feeling. I haven't looked at the text line from earlier today, since 11 a.m. when the news broke. I don't know how you guys are feeling. Are we uneasy? I am uneasy on to where this program is going to go next year. And I want to dive into that in a little bit, in a little bit, I should say. But I'm uneasy about where this program is going for a lot of reasons. And part of that is that you were 3-9 last year. And yes, you have let go or parted ways with 4 of your offensive coaches. However, you haven't filled any of the spots yet. And we're having our best player leave for the portal. There's probably going to be more attrition, and there's probably going to be just more news to share here in the coming days. And I'm not super encouraged on where this program is going, Rico. I'll just come out and flat out say that. I don't know how you could be encouraged.
I am worried, concerned. With kind of going back to Adrian, I didn't think that his decision was going to come without Nebraska hiring an offensive coordinator, because I believed that they would bring somebody in who was going to lead the offense, and he would talk to Adrian, and they would see whether he was going to stay or whether he was going to go if he fit the offense. But apparently he's just done with it, and Nebraska still hasn't decided on an offensive coordinator. Or maybe they have, and they just haven't announced it. I don't know. But as of right now, with the things that we know, not like rumors or anything, but the things that we know, there is no decision on an offensive coordinator or really any other position on that offensive staff that was let go.
Okay, let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit, because Cheeseburger says this on the text line. y'all need some tissues for losing a quarterback. I can bring them to you. I don't know why you're so heartbroken. I'm not necessarily heartbroken. We've talked about it, how Nebraska asked Adrian to do a lot this year. And we kind of talked about it at the end of Tom and Bach in the pregame there. And let's go and dive into it. I want to get your thoughts on there. 402-464-5685. Feel free to text and call. We'll take them. But Nebraska asked Adrian to do a lot. Part of that is the offense, but part of that is just because we touched on it yesterday a little bit. We hit on it, and there's just been little to no stability around him on the offensive side of the ball, where he's had to pick up even more of the pressure and the slack that comes with on top of what comes with being a Nebraska quarterback. And at this point, I'm looking back at specifically this season and saying, man, what more could Nebraska have asked him to do? Now, I think it was time. It seemed like it ran its course. It was time to move on for both sides. And we're going to repeat that again. And Adrian did not win games. And it's similar to what I say about the coaching staff. At some point, it becomes about winning games.
You are what your record says you are.
Yeah, and Adrian was not good at closing out. He made crucial mistakes in extremely important times of a game. He's lost games for Nebraska, but then he's also won games for Nebraska. He's kept Nebraska in a position to stay competitive in a lot of games.
And he's taken Nebraska out of some games.
Absolutely. And at some point, it does become about winning games. And Adrian, like I said, is just not winning games. Did not win nearly enough games. And however, on the flip side of that, you have to appreciate and you have to respect what he's done for this program, what he's gone through for this program.
Not just on the field, but off the field. Just a high character guy who you were proud of. You were proud to say that he's the quarterback of Nebraska. I know, maybe the wins and losses obviously weren't there, but the way he carried himself off the field and how fantastic he was with the fans, the children, with everybody, it just spoke to how amazingly what an amazing job his parents did raising him, and how amazing he was for the state of Nebraska and for the Cornhuskers. So
we'll talk about the future of the program, how fans can be encouraged. We'll look at both sides of that, but I want to stick around with Adrian here. I don't know necessarily where he could land. I seriously could see him landing at a Power 5 place. I don't think, like, even with the crowded portal, if you think about how crowded the portal is, Fresno State's quarterback is now probably going to transfer and follow his head coach to Washington. You have obviously Spencer Rattler's a big name. There's been a couple other big names. Charlie Brewer from Baylor/Utah, whichever one you want to categorize him under, is in the portal right now.
UCF's quarterback,
Dylan
Gabriel, who apparently is going to be going to Ole Miss.
Yeah,
if all the rumors hold true with him,
because now Ole Miss has to replace Matt Corral, and so, like, even in a loaded transfer portal, I feel like Adrian will be highly sought after. Now, obviously, something that's going to hurt him is his record, but a coach or a player could look at the situation that he was in at Nebraska and see, and we got this. I mentioned the sack numbers with Adrian Martinez. He was sacked 23 times each in 2018 and 2019, and then 27 times this year. And somebody texted in at the end of Tom and Bach there when I mentioned that and said, that's not that many. 27 is just a little over 2.5 or two sacks a game. Well, at the end of the day, you have the most athletic quarterback in the Big Ten Conference. I don't think that's crazy to that's being outlandish to say that you have an extremely athletic, if not the most athletic quarterback in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah.
Under center or in shotgun or whatever. And you still are being sacked 27 times. The offensive line, and you can look at it by seeing the running statistics, the rushing statistics. The offensive line is atrocious, has been atrocious year after year. And it speaks more to this staff. This is where it falls on the staff.
Yes. That
year in and year out, you were okay with putting a mediocre offensive line out there when you have an all-conference all-conference caliber. He could be good. He could be
honorable mention.
Fantastic if you have guys around him. And that speaks to this coaching staff. And at the end of the day, that you were still okay and you still felt comfortable putting in a mediocre, at best, offensive line out there each year that he was here. And you said, you know what? We have the most athletic quarterback in the Big Ten. He'll be okay.
He'll make his way around it. He'll figure it out.
That's what speaks to me. That's what I take away from those numbers as well.
I mean, I've never been a quarterback, but I can just imagine, you're constantly under pressure every play, how hard it is to focus and make a throw, which, I mean, I'm not going to, take all the blame away from him, because there were some times when he didn't have pressure and he still, missed his wide receivers big time.
Absolutely.
But I can only imagine, if you're under constant pressure game in and game out, how hard it is to focus and not think somebody is going to be coming up behind you or to the side and knocking the ball loose and you're fumbling it, especially with all the fumble problems he had. Knocking the ball loose and trying to make an accurate throw while focusing on attempting not to get lit up.
We've had a lot of your texts here, a lot of your thoughts. I want to get to a good chunk of them here. Scott says this. Oh, text up. Hold on. Scott says this. I'm so uneasy. Not because Adrian left. That was right and expected, but the lack of news about the coaches is scary. Having said that, there's no reason we should be splashing all over Twitter like some of the others. Hopefully our staff is coming together behind the scenes. On that note, I will say, I mean, I asked Aaron Sorensen about this yesterday, could they be being forced to wait to announce until they're done playing?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very good possibility.
Some people could still be under contract and you can't announce anything,
yes.
But it's slightly concerning.
Let's see. We've had a lot here. Let's scroll all the way down to the bottle. Texas Jeremy says they asked him to play quarterback in a zone read option offense. He knew what was being asked of him when he signed on to play. He did the best he could, but he's not a clutch winner. Bingo. Clutch. I mean, that's what somebody else said is he's just not good in clutch, and it's that easy to put it. You're absolutely right. Justin says this: who are they going to get to replace Martinez? Better be someone from the portal, SEC, ACC guy. That's an interesting way to think. That's an interesting question, Justin, and one that I kind of proposed to Rico before we came on, because how do you sell this offense, this staff, this program? Mm-hmm. To a high level quarterback? I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely asking.
When you don't have an offensive coordinator, I mean, you have the guy who's running the offense, who's more than likely, probably, I know he says he's going to take a step back, but more than likely going to be calling the plays. Mm-hmm. It should be easier. But if he truly is going to take a step back and Frost is not going to be calling plays, how are you going to be able to sell your offense to a quarterback when you yourself don't know what offense is going to be going on? I'm sure Scott Frost will have a say in it, and he will have, many play calls available and many things he'll be able to do with the offense. He is the head coach. But if he truly wants to take a step back and trust his offensive coordinator to call the plays and run the offense, without one, you can't sell anything to a quarterback. You can say, hey, we want you to come to Nebraska, and, when we have an offensive coordinator, that's the type of offense you're going to run. Also, what quarterback do you go after if you don't know what offense you're going to run?
Yeah,
it's hard to sell something that you don't know.
You made a very interesting comment right there, Rico, is how do you sell it when you don't know what offense? How do you put together a coaching staff when you don't know what offense you're going to run? Obviously, you don't expect them to change it dramatically or drastically just in 1 year. That seems out of line to say that. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a complete 180 shift on how their offense is looking, but you have to put guys into positions to where they can tell a quarterback or a transfer portal guy or even a high school guy. This goes past just the transfer portal. This is more about just recruiting in general and talking to an athlete. Is you have to be able to tell them something that's truthful, that's not we hope it looks like this. You have to tell them the truth. And I'm not accusing the staff of lying to kids or doing anything like that in recent years. But here's the thing is you have to be able to tell them the truth, and you have to have confidence in what you're saying, and you have to follow through with what you're saying, because it all goes back to trust. We're seeing what Lincoln Riley and his recruits and his guys from Oklahoma are doing. The minute he's gone, they're gone. And you can say what you want about how Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma and some of those athletes, but at the end of the day, there's that trust there between that coach and quarterback. You're seeing it with Notre Dame on the defensive side of the ball with Marcus Freeman and Tommy Rees. I don't know if you guys saw that video of Tommy Rees talking to his players in the locker room or in the meeting room, his offensive staff, before it was announced that Marcus Freeman was going to be the head coach. If not, go on to Tommy Rees's Twitter, because the way that he speaks to his offensive guys, it has that mutual respect and that mutual trust. And you understand why nobody is following Brian Kelly to LSU.
Yeah, I'm not going to speak on rumors for Nebraska, but I will speak on rumors for other teams. At Notre Dame, there's a rumor going around that he wanted some of his assistants to follow him, and none of them want to go with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but that is what is being floated around. And that's you've seen that nobody else from Notre Dame has been announced as going to LSU to join Brian Kelly.
402-464-5685, the Honda of Lincoln hotline, Sutter Heyman text line 2 first, right, Rico?
Yes.
All right, Matthew. We have Matthew on the line. Matthew, what's on your mind, dude?
Matthew?
Hey, yep, I can hear you guys now.
What's up, Matthew?
Hey, fellas, talking about the quarterback situation and hearing you guys discuss, how do you get somebody to come here, and being honest with them. As hard as you guys are trying to make it, I mean, can't you sell the atmosphere? Can't you sell hey, look at our quarterbacks in the past? I mean, you come here, this is all we have. This is all we have at Nebraska is this program. You come here, you're going to be a star. It's a God honest truth. Look at Martinez, man. Look at the record. The kid was a leader. He had grit. He was tough. As you guys said, he came up short in those situations. But at the end of the day, he was a star. I mean, he was a lot of these kids that are coming up in this generation look up to somebody like that.
Hey,
I just think it shouldn't be that hard of a sell.
Matthew, can you stick around for a
stay on
second?
the line real quick.
Yeah, stick around for a second. I'm genuinely curious on your response here. Is Nebraska's brand as strong as it was 8 years ago?
I honestly, to side with you guys on that, I think you're right. I don't think the brand is as strong as it is. But won't you want to be that guy that brings it back?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm sitting at somebody's kitchen table with their mom and their dad or their grandma or their guardian or whoever, and I have firm belief that he's the guy, I'm looking at their parents dead in the eye and say, you could be the one that gets this thing right back on track. And then throw out the NIL deal. I mean, come here and be a star. Come here and bring Nebraska back to the blue blood program that we are. I mean, you have everything. We have everything it takes, right? We have the facilities. Who knows about the coaches, I guess.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're selling the situation as a coach.
Yeah, appreciate the call,
Thank you,
Matthew.
Matthew.
I was genuinely curious, and please feel free to send in your text in response to that question. Is Nebraska's brand as strong as it was 8 years ago? 5 years
and
ago?
I get what Matthew was trying to say. You can be the one to bring Nebraska back, but if a coach was saying, if a coach who had just fired his offensive coordinator, his quarterback's coach, his offensive line coach, and his running back coach was telling me you can be the one to bring Nebraska back, I'm like, all right, cool. What are we doing on the offensive side of the ball? You can say all you want. You can try to sell the brand. You can sell the atmosphere. You can sell all of that. You can sell that they're going to be a star. But once they get here, if they're not going to win games because they don't if you bring in a pocket passer and the offensive coordinator that you bring in after that is somebody that wants to run, kind of the same type of offense that Scott Frost wants to run, more of a read option type of offense, it's not going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. 402-464-5685. Let's go back to the Honda of Lincoln hotline. I believe we have 1 second. Brad is on the Honda of Lincoln hotline. Brad, what's on your mind, man?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you?
Good,
Doing all right,
good.
Brad.
What's up?
Beautiful day.
Tell me about it.
I just about this whole quarterback situation. Can you guys tell me the last time Nebraska had a legitimate quarterback competition where you had two studs battling it out to see who's going to be the starting quarterback? I mean, you think back to Kevin Martinez. Oh, I'm the starting quarterback. Tommy Armstrong, I'm the starting quarterback. And Adrian Martinez, when have we had a legitimate quarterback competition where two guys are pretty close to the same caliber type of quarterback athlete? Take all the variables you want to include into it: accuracy, passing, running the football, whatever you want to say. When have we ever, in the last 15 to 20 years, had a legitimate quarterback competition? You could say Luke McCaffrey, but
Yeah, no.
Luke McCaffrey was never going to replace Adrian Martinez. And signs of great teams and great programs, I think, anymore are when they have that competition. Look at Oklahoma. You remember that guy named Spencer Rattler? What happened to him? So anyway, I'll hang up
Yeah.
and listen to you guys.
Appreciate it, Brad. What I will say, the only one that I can really think about and take it with a grain of salt is Scott Frost's first year in 2018 with Jebbia and Martinez. But looking at the
I mean,
situation,
Tanner Lee was also on that before he trained. Like
Yeah.
he was also on that
That's a good
roster
point.
before he
Before he
decided
went
to
pro.
go into the NFL.
But I will say with that situation, I mean, it was Martinez was the highly touted guy coming in with Frost. He was Frost's guy. He came from Tennessee. He was the first guy Scott Frost called. And Jebbia was obviously not one of Scott Frost's guys. All right, let's get to more of your reaction here. Eric in Lincoln says, does anyone have QB competition anymore? Transfer portal has ruined competition.
that's kind of what I was.
See Jalen Hurts.
That's kind of what I was trying to think of is big name programs that actually had quarterback competitions. Clemson had Trevor Lawrence for the longest time, and then they handed the reins to DJ Uiagalelei.
You can think about Alabama. I mean, obviously it's the top of the line.
Well,
You think
Alabama
with Tua and Jalen in the championship game.
Yeah,
But we don't know how open of a competition it was at the beginning of the season. You just know that in the national championship game, it was Tua right away. And so, all right, 402-464-5685. Let's go ahead and get to a little bit of an early break here. Let's take a break a little bit earlier. I want to get more of your guys' reaction on the other side. There's a lot of text that I want to kind of surf through during the commercial break, and we'll get to all of them next on Happy Hour.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Lincoln's Mega Liquidation Store is here. Wholesale Logistics is now open on West O Street as a bin store with tons of liquidation pallets, appliances, mattresses, furniture, and more. Brand new mattresses, 30 to 60% off retail with well-known brands. New furniture, also 30 to 60% off retail value. Brand new LG scratch and dent appliances, 35 to 40% off retail. Wholesale Logistics purchases truckloads of smaller items from major retailers and throws them into bins, with everything starting at just $8. Get to Wholesale Logistics, open each Friday to Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 2811 West O Street.
The workday is long, the bills are due, and sometimes you just need to relax. There's no better way to do that than in your brand new hot spring spa from Bonsall Pool & Spa. With hot tubs as low as $75 per month and interest-free financing, you're sure to find the perfect spa to fit your lifestyle. So get over to Bonsall Pool & Spa today and check out their selection of hot spring spas. Bonsall Pool & Spa, 33rd and Highway 2. Every day made better.
The worst of times can bring out the best in each of us. Doctors, nurses, and frontline workers have labored selflessly to keep us safe during the health crisis of our lifetime. How do we thank these heroes? It's simple. Get your COVID vaccine so we can end this pandemic. Variants are on the rise, and we don't want to put these heroes through another health crisis. They have given their all. Now it's up to you. Please do your part. For you, for them, for us.
This message sponsored by the Helmsley Charitable Trust, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Breakfast tacos, brisket tacos, pork tacos, chicken tacos. You hungry yet? I can keep going. Pork or chicken, queso nachos, queso mac and cheese, hatch mac burritos. Now you're salivating. Muchachos is Lincoln's premier New Mexico barbecue fusion restaurant. And you can't miss them in their bright blue building. Pair that great food with delicious coffee for breakfast and a variety of local and national beers on tap the rest of the day. Order your food online at yomuchacho.com or visit them in person at Muchachos on South 11th Street between L and K Streets.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Record highs could be in jeopardy today as we'll top out near 72. Winds remaining light out of the west and eventually turning out of the south at around 10. A cold front moves through tonight. We'll drop down to 42 for the low and be cooler tomorrow, but still very mild with a high of 59. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increasing, but the lots will not be filling up anytime soon. In fact, most vehicles are being pre-sold and are leaving the same week as they arrive. If you want your new Chevrolet or GMC, this is a great time to build a vehicle and place an order. Our sales team will work right with you to build the exact vehicle you want. At Koppel, we appreciate your business and sell vehicles at a fair price. So come check us out or visit us online at Koppel copplecars.com.
Tractor Supply Distribution Center in Waverly is now hiring for maintenance techs. They have needs for the 10B shift, Tuesday through Friday from 5:30 p.m. to 3:30 a.m., the 12A shift, Saturday through Monday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and the 12B shift, Saturday through Monday from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Minimum 2 years experience in a fast-paced industrial environment is recommended to apply, and pay is based on experience. They're a 24/7 facility and a clean environment to work in. Come be a part of the Tractor Supply team. Apply today at www.tractorsupply.jobs.
Parents, if you've been waiting for FDA approval to get your teen vaccinated, the time is now. The FDA has approved the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for use in preventing COVID-19. While this is the first vaccine to gain FDA approval, all COVID-19 vaccines have been proven to be effective against the coronavirus. Want to reduce your teen's risk of hospitalization while protecting yourself and your community? Get your teen vaccinated today. Visit vaccinate.ne.gov to get started.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Record highs could be in jeopardy today as we'll top out near 72. Winds remaining light out of the west and eventually turning out of the south at around 10. A cold front moves through tonight. Will drop down to 42 for the low and be cooler tomorrow, but still very mild with a high of 59. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Now back to the happy hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Appreciate you guys giving your thoughts all show long. I had some opportunity to surf through the text line here. All right, let's get to a couple of these. There's
strong feelings.
There's quite a few on Logan Smothers, so let's talk about that really quickly here. But first, Steve from Lincoln says this: the staff is in a win now situation. I don't believe a transfer quarterback can learn all the things they want to, and Smothers at least has been in the program a year or 2 years. He's been there 2 years, which either way, pish posh.
Whatever.
And then here, this one just came in. I thought Smothers, this one comes from unnamed texter. I thought Smothers played great in the Iowa game minus the safety. Why wouldn't we be thinking more about how we make the O-line better to allow for the ideal quarterback play? They don't have to be an athletic beast if the line can play efficiently enough. That would only lead to an elevated running back play and better route running. Quarterback will come along if the line shows up. Seeing games prior to Teddy Prohaska injury. Here's what I'll say about Logan Smothers. And Rico and I are in the same boat. We really like Logan Smothers. We like the idea of Logan Smothers being the quarterback at Nebraska. My biggest question is the sustainability. We touched on it yesterday a little bit, and just this whole week, I suppose. Mm-hmm. When you run a guy 20 plus times, then that's not sustainable. And I would hope that Scott Frost would be the first one to tell you that, because of the injuries that Adrian has suffered, because he's ran it countless number of times. So I would say that. Also, I would get on that board of, or on that line of, well, if they were so confident in him when Adrian was playing bad, because we just said it last segment, there were many times that Adrian played bad. And if you were so confident in them after he's been in here 2 years, what does that tell you about what they've seen from him in practice and how they feel, how the coaching staff feels about Logan Smothers' ability to run the full offense, right? That's been a big thing with this whole staff, is they only want to play guys when they know the full offense. Mm-hmm. That was why Xavier Betts wasn't able to get on the field. Well, what they told us, Xavier Betts wasn't able to get on the field his first year here. There's been a lot of things early on this season. Jaquez Yant wasn't out there for the whole second half of one game early in the season.
Because he missed a block.
Yeah, well, because he missed a block, and they just didn't feel like he was ready to to go through some of the plays that they wanted to call in the second half. Like, that's been a huge thing. And if you're 2 years in, number one, that goes on the player a little bit to have to be ready when you're called, but also that comes on the coaching staff to be able to develop a guy. And like I said yesterday, they have not shown the ability on the offensive side to develop a guy.
Yeah. I'm gonna start with Logan. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he would do really well for Nebraska, but I don't know how good he really is going to be next season. I mean, the coaching staff, as you said, they were hesitant to put him into games when Adrian was struggling. They were hesitant to put him in games when Adrian broke his jaw. Like, if your quarterback breaks his jaw, he should sit for a couple of games, you would think, right? But they were just like, oh, yeah, we'll get him in the locker room, do whatever, and then, he'll get his jaw wired shut, and he's out there for the next game. Like, if you have a good backup that you trust fully, he's been here for 2 years, as we said, you would trot him out there and let him take control of the offense at least for a game or two. But apparently they didn't trust him, so I don't know how much I can trust him. I think he's going to be good, but I am not a coach. I am not seeing him in practice day in and day out, so I can't actually speak to how good he's going to be. I've seen his high school film. I've seen the limited amount of time we've seen him at Nebraska, and I think he's really talented, and I think he can do almost everything you want him to do. But lack of experience playing in college football games, which comes with, the only way you can get that is by playing college football games, is going to hurt him next season. And then going to the transfer quarterback, the not being able to learn the offense in the short amount of time that they have. Well, a good way to solve that is to get your transfer quarterback early, which would include getting your offensive coordinator, but we already talked about that. But getting your transfer quarterback early so that they can learn the offense through the offseason, through spring ball, through the summer, before fall camp starts and before you get into games. And even then, if they don't have the full playbook down, if they are exactly what you want, if they have all the prerequisites, the strong arm, the enough athletic ability, maybe not a guy who can outrun people to the end zone, but somebody that can avoid sacks and get a couple of yards when you need them to get the yards, and they don't have the full playbook down, you can still run part of the playbook. You don't need the entire playbook. You can run part of it, and as the season progresses, as they learn more of the playbook, you can open it up even more.
Well, and when we go into the transfer portal, it doesn't have to be a grad transfer quarterback. I think that's one thing that might be overlooked. Yes, it's a win now situation, but if you're looking here and if you're this coaching staff, before we get back to Logan Smothers, you can find a junior or a guy with 2 years left of eligibility and develop him over time, right? Going back to Logan Smothers, though, we got this off the text line. Is that really because he wasn't ready, or what, because he didn't get enough reps with the ones? What I will say is, directly or immediately after the Purdue game in the post-game press conference, Scott Frost talked about how, we wanted to get Logan in, but we just haven't felt like he's gotten enough game-like experience. Well, the only way to combat that is to give him game-like experience and in-game reps. And if he's not ready for the in-game reps when the time comes, when Adrian Martinez is playing poorly, which happened quite a few times this year, then who does that fall on? Does it fall on the staff? Does it fall on Logan Smothers not being ready? Or does it go on both sides? Which I would say it falls on both sides.
A little bit of both there, yeah.
And that tells me, maybe that I'll rephrase that. That tells me a good chunk of what I need to know about how this staff feels about Logan Smothers was how they showed us on how little they played him this year. That's my whole thing on this is they cannot look back on this season and say, well, we didn't really have any opportunities to play Logan Smothers. No. I can tell you right now, the glaring one where it's not garbage time minutes, you had an opportunity in Purdue. When Adrian Martinez had 4 interceptions, even after his third. How many more times do you need to see that Adrian Martinez is not going to be able to win you that ball game to put in a guy that is extremely highly rated? You tell us he's looking so great in practice. Give us an opportunity to see that. That's my whole point, is at the end of the day, after that Purdue game, what you told us was that he didn't have enough in-game experience to play. And so on top of that, at the end of the day, with 4 interceptions and another Big Ten West loss under your belt, Adrian Martinez was your best option to win that game. And that tells me everything I need to know about this quarterback room, or how this coaching staff feels about this quarterback room. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
I mean, my thing is, my golden opportunity to get Logan Smothers playing time is again, when Adrian Martinez broke his jaw against Michigan State. I know that it was a close game, and you believe that Adrian had the best chance to win that, but the following game was Northwestern, who was not having a great season up to that point. And I know that he ended up getting some time, but start Logan Smothers in that game. Let him get the game rep against a Northwestern team that had been struggling up to that point. Let him do that, rest Adrian Martinez, and let him get healthy. But no, you started Adrian Martinez because you felt like you needed to start him to win the game, and he ended up, having a fantastic game, and you were able to get garbage time minutes for a lot of other players. But that right there was a golden opportunity to start your backup, get him Big Ten level experience, and see what you have before the end of the season, where Adrian Martinez messes up his shoulder and you need to start your backup second-year freshman against one of the better defenses in the conference.
I just think that there's a lot of unanswered questions. This is the offseason so far, and yes, we're only a week into the offseason. And I don't want to over-exaggerate, but I want to put things in perspective. About 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever they fired it would have been about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when they fire the offensive staff, I was standing 10 feet away from Scott Frost at the press conference. And he said, we want to get our offense coordinator in here quick because that's how we're going to build this thing. I'm going to take a step back. And now I will say this, on the flip side of everything, with Adrian moving on and Adrian / Nebraska moving on, there is an opportunity for some light at the end of the tunnel. And you can look at this and say, okay, the offensive coordinator has the ability to pick his next quarterback, to pick the quarterback for next season. But it all comes full circle, and you have to have the embracement of role. Embracement? Is that a word?
It's definitely not a word.
Everybody there has to embrace their role, right?
Yes.
And if you're a head coach and you want to be the CEO, you need to be okay with stepping back.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an offensive coordinator, you need to be okay with taking a bigger chunk of it and saying, this is my offense, this is my quarterback, this is how we're going to look. It needs to have everybody has to be on the same page. It all goes back to that.
There you go.
Being on the same page. And you can look at it one way and say, okay, with Adrian and Nebraska moving on, there's an opportunity for them to all be on the same page because it all starts with the quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you. With Adrian leaving and Nebraska moving on, turning the page, moving on in a different direction, that could be the first step in Scott Frost taking a step away from the offense and being more of that CEO type head coach and letting his offensive coordinator and offensive staff run the offense. While he has input, again, he is still the head coach. He's an offensive minded head coach.
Yes.
He will have input. No matter how much we say he's going to take a step back, no matter how much he says he's going to take a step back, he will have input on offensive plays. But him not calling plays will allow him to go around to the rest of the team and find out where things are going wrong and what things need to be done to fix those. Because when the defense is on the field, when special teams are on the field, he's talking to the offense. He can't see what's going on. Although, he still sees it. He's still watching, but he's thinking about the offense. He's thinking about what they're going to call next when they get the ball back. He's thinking about what he needs to talk to Adrian Martinez about the offensive line, the running backs, the wide receivers, and what all they need to do to make their next offensive possession work better. And, you've got the defense on the field doing their thing. You've got the special teams doing their thing. So with him taking a step back, hopefully he'll be able to focus on the rest of the team and be able to apply his football knowledge. He is a very knowledgeable person when it comes to football to the rest of the team. And hopefully that step back from Scott Frost will equal wins for Nebraska.
Let's get to a couple of your texts here. I want to kind of get to all these because I want to hear your guys' input. Okay, let's start right here. Cubsker says, I'm all in for Smothers. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, Smothers isn't a permanent answer for next season. Not with everything on the line for Frost. Yeah, that's another interesting angle to look at this. And Cubsker makes a good point. Another interesting angle to look at this is Scott Frost understands how important next season is for his coaching career at Nebraska.
At least he should.
And there are, depending on the fully understood metrics, right?
Whatever those are.
Fully understood metrics, but who Scott Frost has in that quarterback room and how they play or what kind of personnel they throw out there each week and what they tell us, that's going to show a lot about how he feels about the guys that he has in that room, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not going, they should not, and not just because it's the last year, but I feel like it is because it is the last year. There's no way that they should take any chances. They need to trust themselves.
I mean, if you're going to the transfer portal, you're taking a chance, but you need to take a chance knowing full well that this could be the last chance you take.
Somebody else asks, how do you trust this coaching staff to make the decision, though, to put in Logan Smothers over Adrian Martinez? Lucas says we are totally screwed. Justin says the staff needs to tailor the offense to the quarterback to win games.
That's what I was saying like a week ago.
Yeah.
It's easier to tailor your offense to the athletes you have than to force the athletes you have to run a specific offense.
I think somebody thinks Smothers is another McCaffrey. I think Smothers is actual quarterback, but there are ways to change this offense and adjust this offense to suit.
Smothers started more than 1 year in high school as a quarterback.
All right. Brian T had a good one. I would be happier if Frost doesn't touch the offense. All sort of different offensive struggles. One common denominator, Scott Frost. I would say two common denominators. I'd throw Adrian Martinez in there as well. Those have been the two. Well, you've moved on from one, and so we'll see if – I'm not saying move on from the other one, but there's ways that you can adjust it to find success. Ben says building a team from the portal may be the next thing for Frost in one season, but is it the best thing for the program overall? Bingo. That's exactly what we kind of talked about yesterday, is there's no way that you can build a sustainable amount of success year in and year out. You cannot, you have to continue building your program, because here's one little worry. And I don't know if it's right, but my whole thing is I hope this coaching staff isn't being short-sighted and only looking at next season because they need to get through next season. Because that tells me that as long as they get 8 wins next year or 9 wins or whatever those metrics are next year, that they feel like they're going to be safe for years to come. Right? Does that make sense, Rico?
It does, but I kind of disagree a little bit. Like, I think that they should be all in on getting through next season. Like, I think using the transfer portal to build a team for next season is totally fine, but you still need to have, a hand on the pulse of moving forward with Nebraska after that season.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use the transfer portal and get a lot of people out of the transfer portal for one singular year, this is definitely the year. Like, you can't build a team through the transfer portal, but what you can do is stack a team, is get your team into a more desirable place through the portal. You're not going to, pick up 8 starters out of the transfer portal, but what you're going to do is maybe you'll get 3 starters and a bunch of solid backup guys that'll play some decent minutes.
All right, before we get to break here, you guys know how we like to operate here at the Ticket. So Thursdays are the happy hours day to give away a care basket courtesy of Beatrice Bakery. This week, our nominee is Ellie Sanderson from the Legacy Assisted Living Home. So here's a little bit of a write-up on what Ellie does. Ellie spends her days taking care of the most vulnerable of people during this pandemic, often working incredibly long hours due to staffing shortages. Yet somehow she is always also managing to be a full-time student at UNK, earning her bachelor's in education. She truly cares about helping others and is devoting almost all of her time to do so with very little recognition. So, Ellie Sanderson, congratulations. You have been nominated to receive a care basket, courtesy of our good friends at Beatrice Bakery. So we will contact you and hook you up with some goodies courtesy of Beatrice Bakery. All right, let's take our final time out here on a Thursday. I want to continue this conversation. You guys have been great. Keep sending your thoughts. We will get to them all. That's what the next segment's for. We'll collect everybody's thoughts, and we will wrap up the happy hour next on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the happy hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The worst of times can bring out the best in each of us. Doctors, nurses, and frontline workers have labored selflessly to keep us safe during the health crisis of our lifetime. How do we thank these heroes? It's simple. Get your COVID vaccine so we can end this pandemic. Variants are on the rise, and we don't want to put these heroes through another health crisis. They have given their all. Now it's up to you. Please do your part. For you, for them, for us.
This message sponsored by the Helmsley Charitable Trust, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is your High School Minute.
With your Southeast Community College High School Minute, I'm Harrison Arns. State football wrapped up at Memorial Stadium on Tuesday. In Class A, it was a defensive battle as Gretna won the game over Omaha Westside with the Ticket's Connor Happer on the call. It was a 1-yard QB sneak from quarterback Zane Flores that led to the only touchdown and a win for Gretna over Omaha Westside 7-3. This would be Gretna's first state football title. In Class B, Bennington won over Aurora 42-14. In Class C1, Columbus Lakeview edged out Pierce 37-25. This would also be the first state football title for Columbus Lakeview. In Class C2, Archbishop Bergen won its first title in 42 years over Norfolk Catholic, 49-20. In Class D1, Howells Dodge coasted to a win over Cross County, 42-12. In Class D2, Kensaw beat Sandhills, 46-40. In recruiting, Gabe Hendricks from Elkhorn South has committed to Notre Dame to compete in cross country and track. This has been your High School Minute, sponsored by Southeast Community College, with locations in Lincoln, Beatrice, and Milford. Learn more today at southeast.edu.
The workday is long, the bills are due, and sometimes you just need to relax. There's no better way to do that than in your brand new hot spring spa from Bonsall Pool and Spa. With hot tubs as low as $75 per month and interest-free financing, you're sure to find the perfect spa to fit your lifestyle. So get over to Bonsall Pool and Spa today and check out their selection of hot spring spas. Bonsall Pool and Spa, 33rd and Highway 2. Every day made better.
Hey, it's Sean Callahan, and football season is here, and Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill has food and drink specials every night for all the games. Enjoy jumbo pork tenderloin for $8.99 and 90-cent wings for Monday Night Football, or comfort Thursday Night Football with chicken fried chicken, steak, or pork for just $9.99 and $20 Coors Light aluminum buckets. Watch college football on Saturdays with an eggy sandwich for $9.99 and Coors Light specials, and catch NFL Sundays with Bloody Marys and more. That's Tanner's Bar and Grill at 30th and Yankee Hill.
The Mercado by Certified Piedmontese Beef is Lincoln's newest full-service butcher shop, offering premium fresh-cut steaks and house-made sausages daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. They exclusively carry certified Piedmontese beef raised right here in Nebraska. When shopping at the Mercado, you're not only supporting local, but also enjoying the official beef of Nebraska athletics. With prime-grade tenderness and unparalleled nutritionals, your backyard barbecue is about to get a serious upgrade. Stop into the Mercado today, located off 84th and Havelock in Lincoln.
Starting the right career is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. You want to enjoy your career, be challenged, have fun, earn a great weekly paycheck, and work for a great company. If you're looking for a career change or right out of high school, the John Henry's Plumbing Apprentice Program may be the perfect answer. You'll get paid while getting hands-on training. We focus on your skills while you engage in real-world learning. Why not join the John Henry's team today? Apply at jhlincoln.com. That's jhlincoln.com.
John Henry's Plumbing. Heating it in. 93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Record highs could be in jeopardy today as we'll top out near 72. Winds remaining light out of the west and eventually turning out of the south at around 10. A cold front moves through tonight. Will drop down to 42 for the low and be cooler tomorrow, but still very mild with a high of 59. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Go ahead, let it sleet, let it slush, and let it snow, because the pros at T.O. Haas Tire are ready to help you with a new set of tires guaranteed to get you through it all, like the complete line of Michelin tires, including the X-Ice Snow Tire. And right now, you can get $70 back when you buy any 4 new Michelin tires at the T.O. Haas Tire near you.
T.O. Haas Tire and Auto, a tradition of trust. Back to the happy hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary on 93.7 The Ticket.
Thanks again to all you guys for your input on the Starter Heyman text line, for those that called on the Honda of Lincoln hotline, and then all you watching on the Starter Heyman Jewelers video stream, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Also, if you go to our website, you don't know where to find or what to search for the video stream, go to our website. There's a link that says watch live, and it pulls the video up right there, and you can see me and Rico for another 5 minutes or so, and then DP and then Jay to round out the night, as well as the shop that's on our website.
Give us t-shirt ideas.
We need a shout. We need to make a shout out Industry Baby one.
I mean, I need a shirt that just says hello.
That too. All right. So we mentioned earlier that the brand. What are your guys' thoughts on the brand of Nebraska football? Nebraska football. Somebody says this earlier. This was a little bit ago. Good show, fellas. The N brand nationwide sometimes feels like we're now a joke or spoiled and unrealistic. Ooh. Then we get this. That kind of seems to be the thought. Is not that it's necessarily a joke. It's just not nationally relevant.
Unrealistic. That makes sense.
That's a very good word.
Yeah.
That's a very good word. And that's where I kind of wanted to build into that conversation that we had a little bit ago about how do you sell? Genuinely curious, how does this coaching staff sell specifically a quarterback when you have not had success? You don't know necessarily what you want to do on offense. Even if you do know what you want, the last 4 years, you have yet to find an identity.
Honestly,
outside of quarterback run,
the hardest part of selling Nebraska to recruits right now for Scott Frost is probably the uncertain future.
Yeah.
Everybody knows he's on the hot seat. Everybody knows that if he doesn't win this year, that he's done. So selling that to recruits or transfers is going to be really hard. Like just saying, we want you to be here and be part of the team that turns it around. Well, this last year's team was supposed to turn it around. You had all the talent that you needed. You have a couple of guys who are getting some NFL draft interest. I'm not saying that, many of them are going to be drafted, but you've got guys that have at least interest and are being talked about in NFL draft circles. So, who's to say that after losing all of that talent that this next year's team is going to be able to turn it around? That is a hard sell. Just saying, I'm on the hot seat. I could be gone after this season. I don't know, but I want you to be here with me so we can turn it around and I can come back.
I want to have this conversation tomorrow, and it's a text that Drumstick just sent in. The brand will be relevant as soon as we get back to 8-win territory. Keep the faith. Okay, yeah, you're probably right. Once Nebraska starts putting together a string of postseason runs or wins, I suppose that will help. But I kind of that made me think about this. When is Nebraska going to be satisfied with a result?
Without a national championship?
What result? Because that tells you a lot about the fan base's expectations. Because if it's just 6 wins next year, that doesn't say that standard's not very high.
I'm trying to think of a team would Nebraska fans be happy with just having an Iowa season every year?
It's funny you say that. One of the conversations I thought about having today before Adrian Martinez news came out was, would you take Kirk Ferentz as the coach at Nebraska? 8-9 wins every year. No serious postseason run. Make a Big Ten title game every now and then. Not many people, including myself, are giving them a chance against Michigan this weekend.
You get a double-digit win season every couple of years.
It's not pretty.
You'll be in the top 10 every once in a while. I mean, I'd be okay with that.
But I'm saying for 20-plus years.
I'd be okay with that.
Interesting. That tells me a lot.
I know people joke about Iowa not being relevant and everything, but Iowa's there a lot. They're talked about a decent amount.
That just is really interesting to me because that just tells me a lot about the standard at Nebraska. What is the standard at Nebraska, and what happens when people don't hit expectations.
I mean, the hard part is if you're not winning, like if Nebraska just turns into Oregon, where you're really good, really, really good every single year, but you're not winning a national championship anytime soon. Are we okay with that? Because I'm okay with that. I want to win a national championship. I want Nebraska to win a national championship and be the national champions at some point. But if they're Oregon and they're winning year in and year out, I'm good with that.
Yeah. I will say this. The officiating, we didn't get to talk about it. The officiating in the basketball game last night was atrocious. The ball is part of your arm. That's new.
Not a foul.
Not a foul. But Nebraska had an opportunity to win it, unfortunately. But they definitely are learning. They're getting better. That is all for today. One-on-one with DP is next. We'll talk to you tomorrow. It's Friday.
Adios.
Hi, this is Sean Callahan with Koppel Chevrolet GMC. New vehicle production has been increased